Hello, and welcome to another edition of Real Talk with Chris and Ross, episode number 20. We're excited to be on here. Hopefully, our audience is excited equally to hear us speak. Hopefully, we have some amazing insight and advice for you and some value content that you can take away with you and add to your business maybe tomorrow. But nonetheless, Ross and I have focused this kind of heavily more on the real estate side, obviously, because we're both very immersed in real estate, combined together about 30 plus years of real estate. So we love to speak on that and conceptually design some ideas to help you grow your business. And also, we love to target people just basically who are entrepreneurial, forward thinkers, big thinkers, open minded individuals who just are looking for something they can sink themselves into to grow themselves personally and in business. So, like every week, my amazing co-host Ross and the
What's happening?
third. What's
How
happening,
the
my
heaven
brother?
are you doing today?
How the
You
heaven? I
doing all
love that.
right?
How the heaven? Hey, it's heavenly. It's heavenly, man. Life is great. I heard this thing the other day that somebody said that you should be grateful every day you wake up and you're alive because somebody on this planet didn't wake up. Right? At some
Isn't
point, when
that
you
the
put it, look
truth?
at that. It's crazy, right? Like there's some people that die every day, unfortunately. That's obviously a
Yeah.
sad situation here. But when you wake up every day, your first thing should be like, oh my God, I'm one of the lucky ones. I actually made it through the night and I'm up again
Come
to,
on.
to, to live another day, right? Somebody in this planet didn't wake up today.
It really is
So,
that perspective, and I actually, it's funny you say that quote is so real. My wife and I do this month. We do a monthly finance/goal meeting, and it actually happened to be yesterday that we did our meeting because we like to try to do it towards the end of the month just to have that honest look at the mirror. And we
mhm.
were looking at all of our goals and where we're at in the margins and everything. And my wife just like stopped me as I was getting really passionate, and she said, "You know what, honey? Like, we have to always have perspective because regardless of our goals, regardless of whatever it is, like we're alive today. We're alive today.
Mhm.
We have the opportunity to be here. We have the opportunity to be with our kids. Like, regardless of anything on that we're looking at this paper, we're winning today. Like
Yeah.
we won. And whether the meeting went good or bad or whatever, how it goes, like to have that perspective is so powerful and ultimately creates more of a hopeful and creative mindset when you think like that. Right.
Oh, 100%. Well, more positive and open flowing, right?
Yeah.
It's like this settlingness of gratitude. It's a different
Mm,
feeling. I don't know if people out there are listening to this. If you ever feel like you're extremely grateful, like you have this overwhelming sensation of this euphoria where your hair in the back of your neck
mhm,
stands up, right? And your heart
mm.
beats a little bit more and you start to get a little bit more just excited, everything, the energy in your body, it's like this,
S-
like that there's positivity around the corner. It's
That's
an
right.
amazing feeling.
That's right.
So
It is an amazing feeling. So, but and on that, man, I know we got some great topics today. Definitely can't wait to dive into them. But I know you're doing the 75 hard challenge, man. And we're big on mindset. And I wanted to ask you so the viewers could, hear how's that going? How's
man,
75 hard going for you?
well, the real term is hard. It really is hard, and it's not really hard. The reality is when people look at it, and I've heard so many people across the board give their comments about it, and whatever I tell you, whatever works for you works for you. Whatever strokes your boat, do your thing. Do what you need to do for you. The reality is
Mhm.
it's not really hard things to do. I mean, it's like 4 or 5 things that you're required to do on a daily basis for 75 days. That is the kicker. Because I would line up a group of people and find out who can consistently do something for 75 days
Mhm.
straight. And I can
Mm.
promise you, very few people are going to raise their hand and be able to commit to that. It's
Yeah.
something simple as drinking water. Like I got to drink almost a gallon and a half of water every day. Yeah, that's not
Mhm.
hard. I got water. I can go over to the faucet right now. I can go to the refrigerator and get me some water. But how many people are
Yep.
committed to drinking a gallon and a half of water every day when your life gets busy, when it gets
Mhm.
upside down, when, oh, that wasn't a priority before, and
Yep.
now it's a priority and a commitment now, right?
Yep.
Something as simple as drinking water. Now, the only thing I tell you about that's challenging for me, honestly, is working out twice a day. That the two
Yeah.
minute to two 45-minute workouts a day, and one has to be outside. One has to be
Yeah.
outside, one inside. So the truth is, it's that piece of, oh, I could do that. Sure. All right. This morning I woke up, outside was raining, it was cold, the wind was blowing, the trees were going back and forth. And I says, I don't want to get up and go run outside. Like that's the difference, right? That is the
Yep.
difference that determines whether the 75 hard is going to work for you. If you can get
Yep.
up every morning, regardless of conditions, whatever's happening around you, and do what you need to
Mm.
do. So, yeah, I tell you what, there's a lot of things. I'm only 10 days in now. Today's 10. Hit the
Okay.
double digits. Say
What
10
is
days in.
what's been your greatest lesson so far while you've been doing it? If you have one, because
Yeah.
for anyone listening to, I have tried to complete the challenge. The longest I've gone, I believe, was 23 or 27 days. I don't remember exactly, and I fell off. And I'm definitely here to say that it changed me in my perspective, even though I didn't finish it, and I do plan on finishing it one day. But yeah, I gained a ton of perspective on myself. So yeah, what if you have anything? I'd love to hear it.
Well, I think for me right now, it's opened up a gateway of a thought process that I didn't really ever it didn't exist before. And
Mm,
I'm just obviously in the very beginning of it. I mean, 10 days is not a whole lot, but definitely is a starting point where I'm starting to see I had to commit to do this thing for 10 days. And it's not even just that piece, because when I'm doing that, like I told you earlier, when I'm running, I listen to all these motivational speaks and I podcast in my head when I'm running every day.
mhm,
And that's being infiltrated into my mind. So, right, that's like, yes, I'm doing the actual thing that I'm supposed to do for part of the 75
mhm,
hard, but in doing so, the ancillary piece that is the additional piece is that I'm actually taking in all this extra stuff into my brain that I wasn't doing
mm.
before every day, mind you, every day.
Yeah,
I may
which is
have like,
big. It compounds.
oh, I randomly may have been like listening to a few things here and there, like, oh, I'm driving, cool. Let me listen to that podcast, looks cool. Or, oh, that motivation sounds great. Let's listen to that. But it wasn't consistent. And as we all
Mm,
know, everything is about consistency.
that's right.
So for you to say like right now at day 10, man, it's opened up this gateway of thoughts where I know in my life I've been fucking up. Let's just keep it that way.
Mm,
Like as far
yeah,
as I've grown in my life and as much as I've accomplished and things I've done, I'm looking back of all the areas where I've been fucking up.
yeah.
And I'm seriously like, holy shit, how come I've been doing that? Holy shit, how come I've been doing this? Oh my
Mm,
God, it's mind blowing. And so like
yeah.
now all of a sudden it's like, all right, I gotta change this. I gotta change that. Down to like the people that I am hanging out with. I'm like the
Come on.
biggest proponent of proximity is power and who I'm surrounding myself with and who I'm talking to and why am I talking to that person? Now I'm dissecting why am I talking to that person? Why am I even
Mm,
entertaining this conversation with them? When I really dissect it down and look at the whole big picture, nothing about that person, nothing personal, but nothing about that
yeah.
relationship or that connection is positive for me or is it serving me
Mm,
in any way, shape, or form? So I'm
yeah.
like really reevaluating the people I'm having conversation with right now. And like, why
See,
am
isn't
I even
that
talking to you?
like when I hear you say that, the first thing, because one, I can identify a ton with that, right? Like when I was doing 75 hard, I started to realize and have that mirror experience. Like, whoa, wait, hold on. I used to not even be able to get a workout in a day. Now I'm doing two and maintaining a diet and maintaining this, and I'm still able to get everything that I said that I was going to get done. Like I was letting so many things go, and then so it's almost like embracing the discomfort then allows you to embrace the discomfort in every area of your life, even to the core of maybe the comfortable relationships that we keep for God knows whatever reason in our life, right?
Mhm.
And you're now having that experience where you're like, wait, hold on, I'm going to the discomfort every day. Now I'm taking a look at all my other areas of my life and what I can do to create them to have my fulfillment of life, right? I mean, that's deep, brother. That's good.
It is. And it's just, but it also goes back to your behavioral patterns of why you are what you are and why you do what you do.
Mm,
Like, like when things change and adjustments happen in your life, why are you instantly targeted to that certain person? Why are you
mm,
instantly targeted to that certain person? Why did you start really talking to that person again? Right? Like, oh, why did I let him into my life again? There's a reason
mm.
why. And we
Yep.
got to figure out what that is. And it's like that trickle bit of poison that comes in, and not saying people are poisonous, it's just a metaphor. But reality is we allow a little bit in, a little bit at a time, and we think it's subtle and it's not really dangerous,
Mm.
but yet it really is when you really sit back. So I'm really
Yeah.
taking things more into a deeper thought right now than I've ever done before. And yes,
Wow.
doing things on more of a scheduled where I'm like, I'm actually sitting down like, okay, I got to get up at this certain time. I got 30 minutes to do this. I got 45 minutes to do that. I got 30 minutes to do this. I got 20 minutes to do that. If I'm going to get everything done in a day that I need to do,
Yep.
then it's got to happen. And the truth is, if I even think about a while ago, I wasn't even doing a lot of things I'm doing now that now I'm grateful I'm doing, like even for my team Freeman building our organization. I mean, I have things that I'm doing 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, that are
Wow.
hard set, like this has got to be done. There's no negotiating around that. And before, I didn't have those hard sets before in my Monday through Friday schedule. It was kind of a floundering, wandering generality of, oh, okay, I can get to that. I got to do it.
You put that one on the quarterly goals or the monthly goals, and then you tell yourself every Sunday night that it's going to get done that week, right? And then you get into Monday, and then you realize, wait, I didn't budget everything properly, and I'm all scattered all over the place. And now you're like, hold on, man, I am in control of my minutes, which kind of goes into our first topic here.
Yeah,
balancing.
Oh, geez.
Right?
That's a hard word.
and trying to find balance. And a lot of entrepreneurs, let's just face it, I think anyone that's a human on this earth maybe struggles with how to balance their life, how to balance their work goals, how to balance their family life, how to balance their finances, their emotions, the people they hang out with, the time that they put into things. I mean, when you really look at balancing and what you're talking about and be giving the full version of yourself of what you're capable of, a lot of people don't know where to start, or they get overwhelmed and then they feel like they're not doing it right at all.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's actually a thing. Balance is not something that people do at all. I don't think that you said maybe. I think it's not at all, in my opinion, purely in my opinion.
Well, let's dive into that. I want to hear your opinion. This is Real Talk with Chris and Ross, baby. Let's go.
Well, I mean, I feel like the reality is that when you start to live your life on this journey, nobody really has a real broken down manual to life. There's no manual to life, right? Like you do X, Y, and Z, and this happens for that happens. It's just like, yeah, you understand that it does obviously happen, but you learn that after the fact. So my point in saying that is that we're just trying to live this life. And we have so many things that are out there in our life that are very attractive to us that we want. And I think naturally, as our human brain is designed, is to protect and to grow and to thwart from pain and run from things that aren't desirable, right? That's our natural instinct. Our natural brain does that automatically. So when you're going through life, we're trying all these different things and we don't really have a thermometer on that. So it doesn't allow us to have a balance. Like there's oh, we're going to do all this. It depends on your personality too. You could have a very addictive personality. You could have a personality where it requires a lot of push and energy and people have to yank you and kick you in the butt. You have no drive, whatever. Or you could be over the top and just obsessive and relentless and ADD we talked about, right?
Yeah.
And so when you factor all those things into the human piece of life, that human element there, it's really, really hard, almost nearly impossible to understand balance at that point. Yeah. Because you're always over one area over the other and less here in this area than that area. So I don't believe there really is a balance that you live your whole life trying to figure out balance, if that makes sense, in my opinion, right? And
For sure.
And you just try, it's trial and error. And and sacrifices that you come across, and then oops, that shouldn't have done that. And that's where you learn, okay, I got to turn this down over here and maybe balance this back over here and bring this back over there. And so I don't think there's really ever this level of understanding that there's real balance in life. It's a trial and error, and as you go, and you figure this out as you go, and you make mistakes and you fail.
For sure.
Right.
I think that's the thing about balancing is, like you said, is no one really ever has it all figured out. No one can give you the compass or the roadmap that you're talking about, right? Like it just doesn't exist because not everybody has the same family that you have, the same, lifestyle that you have, the same, financial obligations that you have. So it is really impossible for you to just have this perfect foolproof plan, right? And I think ultimately, though, you have to give yourself the grace to figure it out. That's the thing too, right? Grace is big. I mean, there's a difference between being accountable with yourself and then also just beating yourself up and not taking any action because you think that you're not balancing right. I mean, how many, and another thing I like that you talked about is, the sacrifice also within balancing, and there has to be some type of sacrifice because ultimately, I've realized, at least in my own, work life or just life in general, is with balancing, it's not necessarily that I give an equal attention to each and every area of my life at that given time. It's more so, where is the sacrifice for the gain that I need to go to get there? And how am I going to work that in my life? Right? Like, what am I sacrificing on this side that I'm not able to pour into to gain a new advantage in this area? And you have to take from different areas, right? It's just like a relationship, but it's the relationship with yourself of life. right?
Yeah.
You know, if you're in a marriage or if you have a significant other and you're constantly withdrawing from that person, you know, whether it's time, emotions, resources, they're going to be on empty or in the negative, and they're going to feel like you don't have a balanced relationship. If you're over giving in a relationship, you're going to feel like, man, is this really even worth my time? All these things. But when you are understanding of, well, maybe I am in a sacrificing place in this area, and that's why I'm over here. That's why a lot of relationships can work, because they understand the sacrifice. They understand what has to take place in the balancing. So it is kind of a unique topic because there's a lot of understanding of yourself and what you're trying to do, and knowing the sacrifice, and also giving yourself grace to fail and make those mistakes and actually be able to achieve where you're trying to go without being so worried about the outcome. It's there's a lot there.
Well, look at that now. And you're just, all those topics that you just brought up right there is like, how do you humanly figure out how to balance all those to make sure you're targeting every one of those areas in the best way that you possibly can, in your own mind, that you feel that you've actually satisfied that specific area. That's balance there too, right? Right. Like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm working really hard because I want to build this future for my family, but then I'm neglecting my wife, I'm neglecting my kids, I'm neglecting my family obligations.
Yeah.
For the greater good in your mind, and there's lack of balance there. So where do you factor that in? And you don't, it's, again, there's no freaking recipe or book that literally goes to the library and figure out shelf 5, page 4. There's a book, read that, and it'll tell you exactly how to figure this all out.
Yep. Section 2, rule number 75, balance.
Yeah. Balance. Yeah. Read this, and I promise your life will be perfect. Bullshit. It ain't happening, right? So I love it. First, I want to go back to that then. And you said that you have to be in line with yourself. And I'm always the hugest proponent of that. Self-development, self-care. This is where it's at.
Yeah.
And I guess if you want to figure out how to start your balance in your life, like, let's start there. If you're really trying to listen on here and say, okay, how am I going to figure out the balance in my life? Number one, I think it starts with you. Everything starts with you, ends with you, will always do so. And I say that over and over and over and over again. Why so many people fail in their business? Because they really didn't put it into themselves, right? Like I told myself, you take this inventory of yourself. Look in the mirror right now. Take an inventory of yourself right now and look at yourself completely in all areas of your life. Mentally, physically, spiritually, sexually. I mean, everything. Cover it all. Yeah. And if you feel like you're content with where you're at right now, this exact moment, you're good.
You're good.
Then you've really shot yourself in the foot. And you're never really ever living your full potential, right? So it's requiring a progressive everyday, like every day you wake up, are you doing something that scares the shit out of you? That's my first question.
Yeah.
And if it is, what is it? What is it that's scaring the shit out of you? Maybe it's making more calls. Maybe it's doing more, knocking on more doors. Maybe it's spending more time over here instead of over there. And that scares the shit out of you too, because you know, if you let off the gas pedal over here, you're not really pushing forward over there. So, but what are you doing every day to scare the shit out of you, make your knees knock and give you butterflies? That is every day. If you're not doing that, first off, I'm telling you right now, you're dead in the water already. And I'm learning that from the 75 hard thing too. Like, it's requiring me to get up every day and scare the shit out of me, because I don't want to go out and do some shit that I know I need to do, but I don't really want to do it. So does it scare me? Yeah, it does. Because I know I still got to show up and make this shit happen. So there's where that part starts. I was like, it's always been about yourself and what's your personal development? What are you doing for self-care? What are you doing to build this every day? What are you doing to improve this fight to be better tomorrow than you were yesterday or you are today, right? And if you can work on that, that's your starting point. Number one in balance making. Start there. And that's the biggest point. It's always start there, right? And then work yourself out to that.
Yeah.
Find out all the areas in which that you are performing. And, you know, it's always about measuring, right? If it's not measurable, it's worthless. You've got to measure.
That's right.
Right? The importance of measuring and tracking everything is key. Because if you don't know where you suck, you're never going to improve. If you don't know where you're inefficient, you're not going to know where to improve. If you don't even know where you're doing really well at, you're not going to know where to really focus more on that. Right? So people are just wandering generality that floats around, and then you wonder why you don't have any balance. Because you haven't even measured shit. So that's number one, measure.
That's good.
So, what do you, I mean, how are you measuring your stuff? I mean, that's key. I mean, what does it look like when you measure?
Yeah, okay, so I have a book that I carry with me every single day, and I do this thing every month, and I'll show you the previous month that I did, and you can kind of see how consistency. So and I learned this from a guy. You build out a chart, okay, with
Mhm.
all the things that you want to do on this side, right? And then you go and you exit out every day that you complete it. And I can tell you, you start to see if your emotions, goals, and everything aligns, and your attitude aligns with the actions you're trying to measure. And then you start to call yourself out, and you really see, like, man, how my ideas that I have in my mind and the effort that I'm actually displaying aren't necessarily matching up with the balance of the life that I want to create. And it's the emotion and the heart sometimes that's talking you out of those things. Like you said, if you're scared to do something, the emotion behind the sacrifice of the balance is so key. It's so key. In fact, I think the emotional part of it is so much more than any of it.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Because like I could sit down and write down my goals, and I could sit down and do all these things. But then when I come up against that task, and this is why I asked you about 75 hard, because I think 75 hard creates this.
Mhm.
But you come up against that task that you're like, man, I don't know if I want to balance or make that sacrifice or do this thing. And then you retreat and you run away. And, I'll come back to it tomorrow, or I'll come back to it another time. And so then it's hard to measure because you're not actually putting in the work to see the results. So then you're not even able to measure your true success track because you're not even keeping up with the things you're supposed to be doing. And so then you get all discombobulated, and then your life feels out of balance again.
Mhm.
But it's being able to seek and run towards that discomfort and say, no, I have to do this because I need to know if what I'm doing is working and or a thing to implement so that I can measure. But we talk ourselves out of it.
Oh,
We do.
100%. Yep.
We talk ourselves out every time. It's because I guarantee you, like you said, knock on doors, cold call. You call 100 people, you're going to find somebody that wants to work with you.
Oh, guaranteed. It's so funny. I literally, if you just did something consistently, I knew a guy back in the day that actually was on my team years ago, and he actually had zero personality. In fact, if you pegged him out of a room, you like, that fool is never going to succeed in real estate. He has the
Mhm.
personality of a 2x4. And you're
Mhm.
thinking, how the hell do you fucking build relationships like that with that personality, right? But here's the funny thing. He had zero script. All he did was went to the door, knocked on the door. He knocked on 100 doors a day, and his script was, when's the last time you thought about selling your home?
Oh my
Hi,
gosh.
my name's so and so. When's the last time you thought about selling your home? Like, seriously, that's the script he came to.
That's a
But
door
here's
slammer right there.
That's a door slammer. But with that, the double-edged sword is that with his personality, the way he was, very dry and reserved, he
It
actually had
worked.
like skin of a freaking alligator. Also, like he had like this rhinoceros back. Like you can't penetrate this shit. He didn't really care. I guess that
Yeah.
was the thing. He didn't really care. I think the 10 most dangerous words in the dictionary are what will people think and what will people say, you know?
Mm.
And he didn't care either way.
Yeah.
And so, but he just performed at a just diligent, consistent basis. That's my point in saying this. Like, and he got listings that way because
That's
some
right.
point somebody did say, "Oh, well, actually, it's timing's right. You're here at my front door. Okay,
Come
I
on
could
in.
let's come on in. Let's talk."
Yeah.
But it took him being diligent enough to do that. So yeah, I mean, you can throw that in the fact, throw that in the pile. It's just about doing
Yeah.
something consistently, right?
It
Um,
really is. It really is. And being and taking that emotion out, right? And what I mean by that is just really applying yourself to the task, because when we're talking about balancing, especially, when you're at the home life, and if you're not doing the right things in the work life, you might think that you're putting time over here in the family life, but while you're in the family life, you're beating yourself up because you're not doing the full thing at the work life. And so your balance isn't even balanced.
yeah,
You're spending time with your family, but you're not actually spending time with your family. You're in your business, but you're not actually putting time in your business. And then you create a whirlwind in your own life that was all done by yourself. No
yeah.
one, no one put you there. You put yourself there every single time. And it can be avoided if you do everything that you say that you're going to do and measure it.
Yeah. Well, I think to some level, right? Again, I'll go
Yeah.
back to the fact that I don't think it's really possible in my mind again to ever balance out your life when you're really working at a high level to reach
Mm,
success and goals and aspirations and dreams. I just don't really believe that's possible because
mm,
it's almost humanly impossible to give all your attention and spread across equally across the board to make sure everybody, which goes back to the same rule. You can't make everyone happy.
mm.
You just can't. So go back to yourself, make yourself happy. And I'm not saying in a selfish way. because a lot of people take this very negatively. Like, that's so selfish that you like love yourself more, or that you put yourself first, your happiness first. Hogwash. Because if
Yeah.
you can't be the happy person, if you can't balance yourself out in your own mind and be the person you need to be at whatever it is you're wanting to reach, then you're no good to anybody else. You know, I love what Grant Cardone did that. He says, you know, I watched one of his interviews, he said that when he got married to his wife, he told his wife, I'll give you the world, I'll give you anything you want, but I will not sacrifice my dreams of who I need to be with you. I won't. Because what happens is if he did sacrifice those goals and dreams of being who he needs to be, he can never be the great dad that he needed to be to the kids. He can never be the great husband to his wife that he should be. He needed to be who he needed to be, and he would not sacrifice that anywhere. So does that require balance? Yeah, because at some level, obviously look at levels of Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, all those people who those high level people, right? They went through a lot of shit and did a lot of stuff where they definitely just included themselves and their agenda and what they're trying to build, what they're trying to grow, what they're trying to develop. And people on the sidelines, people that love them, that cherish them, were always kind of maybe put in back. And so it required an understanding, which, you know, I think that's the next piece, is having people that you're with, your loved ones, your family, everybody, you got to have a clear understanding of the same goal. Everybody needs to be like, family Team Rawson needs to be on Team Rawson, where the entire family gets it. Kids get it. Oh, I get it. My dad's really busy right now. Yes, because he is actually going to do things like this. He will find time for us. In the moments he can find time for us, do what he do, but we are on a bigger picture, on a bigger vision to get us where we are. And I'll throw this out there later on too. Here's the other irony of this. People work like that and build like that, but they can't ever turn off. And then what happens is that they build this amazing, massive, successful wealth and life that they wanted to do ultimately for their family. But yet at the end, they can't turn that shit off. And it just keeps going. And guess what? Then it's like, when's enough? I don't know. That's for you to figure out. And then that balance, that life that you actually built finally for your family, now it's time to enjoy it with your family.
Yeah.
And yet they can't do that. So it's a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged sword, man. And being fulfilled in life with what you're doing is hard sometimes, right? It is. And finding that fulfillment, you know, I know you've probably been there and I've been there, right? We create the life for our family that we thought that we always would want and have. And then we get to that resting point and we sit still and we're like, wait, I don't know how to sit still. Oh, wait, my mind's going 1,000. Oh, I could do this. Or what if I did this? And then you're always chasing these different avenues and these different outcomes and all these things. And that's, hey, let's just say this. That is to be respected too, right? People who want to continue to build things and to continue to change the world, and they have that drive. We need people like that. The world needs those people to go out in the world and change and bring their impact. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also a huge piece, and I don't want to say that it's like codependent with work, but sometimes there is a piece to where you need to be able to have a fulfillment within yourself that you can turn it off and rest, turn it off and feel fulfilled, turn it off, celebrate yourself, not just because we get to so many mountaintops. And, you know, the valley, we all know, a lot of us, we love the valley. We love the hard part. We love going up the mountain. Then we get to the top of the mountain and then we're like, all right, I see the next mountain I'm going to go to. And we don't ever take time to go, okay, hey, let me like look around and appreciate the things that I have and the things that I've done and actually see if this aligns with what I wanted, where we're at. Check in with the people around me, check in with the family. Hey, how are we doing? Is this where everyone wants to be at? Are we hitting our cues? You know, and that's why I mentioned that my wife and we have that monthly meeting. Every month. It doesn't matter. We have to sit down. We have to look at the numbers. We have to look at what we did. Hey, where did I fail you this month? Where did you fail me this month? What could I work on? What could you work on? These are so important. Measuring, right? We're measuring. We're putting the input. Now, of course, sometimes you might not be able to do that at a month level sometimes, but as you get into a flow, you know, it might be day by day that you have to do that. It might be week by week that you have to do that. Maybe it's quarterly. I don't know. But you have to have that meeting, whether if you're in a marriage, of course, I would probably tell you, hey, it's a good idea to sit down with your spouse. If you're in a business relationship, it's probably good to do that with your business. If you're just out on your own by yourself, it's okay. Sit down, have that hard conversation, look at where you're at, what fulfills you, what doesn't. Are you actually chasing that dream, or are you just chasing the idea of the fulfillment? Because sometimes the idea of being fulfilled is way different than being fulfilled.
100%.
And that's a thing.
Dude, I love that, what you just talking about, though. I mean, you sitting with your wife, that's amazing. But I applaud you in that, because I think that's key to keep tabs on where you guys are at through your journey together. Because at some point, people deviate, right? People's ideas, thoughts, and desires change. And it's always a struggle when one person on the boat wants to go left and the other person on the boat wants to go right. But yet you don't communicate that, don't have conversation around it. And you guys just keep going left and right, and you can't figure out what the fuck's going on. But why are we still in the same spot? Well, because you didn't talk about it. Like, well, hey, honey, you know, I was actually thinking that maybe we should do this instead. Or, you know, actually, I was really thinking that this doesn't make sense to me anymore. Or I had a change of heart. I really want to spend time over here. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Man, that's so important, man, and powerful for you guys to keep it in a healthy relationship. So I applaud you guys in that. Keep doing that.
Yeah. And
That's
it changes
amazing.
the game. It changes the game. You said something really good when you were talking about that. Like, hey, are we going left? Are we going right? You know, I found that those meetings, you know, sometimes we walk away and we're frustrated because we didn't get exactly what we wanted out of the outcome. But, you know, what I love about my wife is she's such a strong headed, you know, leader. And because of that, she's able to see the good and the whole of where we're going. So there are times, Chris, like you said, where, hey, I haven't been able to be home from 6 a.m. until 8 o'clock at night. And yeah, I might just do bedtime for 15 minutes with the kids and they have to go to sleep. And that's a season. But my wife, because we have that meeting, she's not second guessing why I'm not home at this time. She is firm in knowing, hey, this was the plan. Or, you know, in an investment strategy, you know, for instance, last night, my wife, she really wants this new kitchen. I mean, we already have a new kitchen, but she really wants a new kitchen. And so she does this proposal and she tells me why it matters and why it's so important. And in that, I can hear her heart and her direction. And now we can then create a plan to, hey, maybe it wasn't the plan before, but now we're changing. But this is important to my partner. This is important to my teammate. And how can we fulfill both cups, right? And not having that can only create resentments and more bumps in the road. Like you said, you know, I don't want to go this way and have my spouse go this way, or my business partner. Let's take away the marriage approach. You want to be in alignment. Yeah.
Well, that could be also considered balance.
Balance.
Right? I mean, it's another word of balance right there. I mean, balance is not just one thing in life. You know, time, energy, time of your money, that's a balance, right? But also balancing your and others' wants, needs, and desires. Are you balancing that out in a healthy relationship? Yeah. Dude, I mean, balance goes into every aspect of your life. There's not just one thing about balance. And people, if you're listening out here, you're thinking, oh, yeah, work-life balance, cool. That's just one area. Dude, love, relationships, personal time, personal health, personal wealth, personal development, balance. I want to go back to the word about you said fulfill, because I think that's one word that honestly is not, it's not thought of as something that's really relatable. Or it's not given its due justice. Fulfillment. I don't think people really understand what fulfillment really means. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I think majority of people really don't. You know, like I mentioned to you earlier, there's so many people in this world who have reached such levels of success that from our bird's eye view, we think, oh my God, they made it to the top. And I'm talking about a lot of people like celebrities of high status people that we look at them and they have all the fame, fortune, money that you could buy. And you're thinking, oh my God, that's everything. What else would you want in life? And yet these people are killing themselves, committing suicide, right? Regularly. You always hear about it. Somebody overdosed.
So sad.
It's sad because they were very talented individuals who brought a lot of enjoyment and pleasure to our life because we've watched them and seen them and stuff like that. Whatever. We don't have a relationship with them, but we've just been able to enjoy what they provided to us, which is a moment of joy and happiness because we watched maybe their movies or we watched some of their stuff they did. So it impacted us on some level. But interior for them, they were dying inside because they never really had a purpose. They didn't were fulfilled. And so it's like, you got to know why you're put on this earth. You got to know why you're put on this earth, what's your purpose. If you that's fulfillment, knowing what you're put on this earth for. Yeah. And that's such a wide thing because if you ask a group of people, why were you put on this earth, they could not give you a solid answer. I can tell you right now. It's just not in them.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
was
and
designed
and
to.
that not to cut you off, but I
No,
want you to dig in more into this, but like it does sound kind of cheesy, like the Hallmark statement, like find your why, be
yeah,
fulfilled,
yeah,
and a lot of people they hear it so much that they, like you said, it doesn't get enough credit. The word fulfillment or being fulfilled because it kind of is one of those things like, okay, I've heard this 1,000 times. Know my why. Okay, my why is my family. Let's move on. Done.
yeah, yeah,
Right? Like, oh
yeah.
yeah. Okay, okay. Yep. Why? Tony Robbins, great, whatever. Right? It's just
Mhm.
kind of an overlooked thing.
It is. Right. Well, the truth, I think, is overlooked because they don't really want to dig into it. Right. They're afraid to open that closet.
Mm,
Like if you were forced to sit there and really unpackage, to peel back the onion and figure out what really is your why,
mm.
what really is your purpose,
Do
what really
you
is your driver.
do you have a way that you do that?
You know what? It's again, I go back to the personal development thing and the self-care, which is super, super important. And I actually just started, I haven't been doing it my whole life. I'll be honest with you, it's super transparent here. I mean, I think within the last 18 months to 20 months, my ex and I were really good at that, which is great. I love that about her. She was so good about trying to plug in, and we were trying to improve ourselves. So
Mm,
we really got together on that level and tried to figure out how to work on this. And we started doing things like savers, right? The Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, I've heard that. People have actually asked that. Oh, yeah, I've heard that. How many of you are doing it?
mm.
That's what I want to know. You all read the book? You guys all heard about the Hal Elrod story? Oh, yeah, I've heard about it. And that's all they say. But how
Yeah,
many of you are really actually freaking doing it on a daily basis? And I'll tell you how far you're going to go in life.
that's right.
That's it. And so to answer your question, it's about me digging to myself and doing all these things I'm unraveling and opening myself up and being more vulnerable and
Mm,
being transparent with where I'm at in my life and being dropping the ego and being real about, okay, yeah, I really suck at that area. I suck in that area so bad. And that's why I'm still where I'm at today.
mm.
Right. And so it's just understanding those pieces and being being knowing that you don't have it all figured out. And so I'm going through this process. And one of my things this past year was that I needed to become the person that I wanted to be or needed to be in order to gain the level of success, freedom, and wealth I
Mm.
truly desire in my life. That was my purpose. Now it's such a broad range. You're like, okay, that can mean anything.
Yeah.
But that purpose solidified for me that I needed to do things which I'm doing right now. And it's not going to be one thing I'm going to figure out. It's going to be multiple things that I'm going to be doing in my life that I'm going to unpackage, unravel, and open up.
Mm.
And a lot of it could be like very detrimental to me emotionally and mentally. It's going to hurt me. It's going to
Mm.
hurt me bad because I'm going to have to face the fire and realize that I'm either inefficient or not doing what I should be doing, or I'm not showing up as a man to be the person I need to be. Right. And that's hard to swallow for any
It is.
man
Yeah.
because that's an ego pride thing,
We get
you know?
macho, man. We don't want to talk about the emotions. We don't want to get vulnerable, right? And
Nope.
you know what I love that in listening to you say this is, let's face it, Chris, you're a seasoned entrepreneur, man. This isn't your first rodeo. You're not on year one. I mean, you've built some very successful businesses. You've built in multiple different industries, whether it's in the lending end, whether it's in, being a realtor, building a team, now, building an amazing, business here at EXP, right? You have done this. And to hear you say, hey, you know what, man? I'm still refining it. I'm still taking this deep look. I think that's really important for the listeners to say. It's like, hey, it's okay if you don't necessarily have it all mapped out, but you might have to be a little bit vulnerable with yourself and have those hard conversations and really look at, what's my why? Why am I actually wanting to do this? Right. And to give yourself that grace to be able to have that conversation, I think is massive.
It is because it also it segues into again our major topic of balance, right? Because if you can figure out your why, understand what your purpose is, it'll give you a head start
Mm,
on maybe trying to factor in some places that you focus more heavily here and less there, right? And again, it's a combination of all the things that we've been talking about this whole entire time for 39 minutes, for 40 minutes, right? It's you making
yeah,
sure that your teammates and your people that support you understand your same mission, goals, and desires and dreams, that are the same page, right? So that maybe balance is not really a question. It's not really of a thing. It's more about, all right, we're already prepared for this. We know what we're going to run up against, and this we're
that's
going to run
right.
up against. And so that balance is not really even a question anymore. It's
Mhm.
more of like we're all on the same page, right? And then within yourself, balancing your time, your energy, understanding and self-reflecting with yourself, with personal care and self-care and development. You're learning and reaching new levels of stretch goals and stretch ambitions, and understanding there's a level of balance that you have to figure out. It's not going to be perfect by any means,
Nope.
but it's going to be some level of balance that you're going to figure out. And then measuring yourself in those areas that you can really articulate, that you can spend more time here, more time there. And it will give you your level, quote unquote, for those who are listening, I'm doing the quote fingers, quote unquote, balance, right? That is your balance. So yeah, there is no such thing, but there really is a thing, I guess, if you can figure out how to refine it.
It's the unseen. It's the unseen, really. It is. It's the unseen fulfillment that you have achieved your balance, right?
And that balance that works for you. And again, it's the balance that works for you. I guess that's the kicker. The balance is not about how it looks on the surface to everybody else. It's how it works for you in your environment and what you're trying to do and achieve in levels of success. That's what counts. You cannot worry about what the F people think about you and what you're doing. That's number one.
Come on.
You got to do you, and you're on your journey, and you're driving that boat. Nobody is.
That's right.
And as long as you, your team that's closest to you, are all in that same boat, same dream, screw everybody else. Yeah. That's my thoughts. You got to be your goal, one mission, one drive. And yeah, so, but tell you what, this is a big piece for you to really grow. I'm talking, if you really want to grow, and I'm 50. I'm growing more right now in the last 18 months, brother, I think, than I have done in a long time.
I love that.
And it's been my life, my experiences, my relationships, my situations, my environment, my openness and willingness to be vulnerable, transparent, drop ego, pride. I mean, there's so much things, right? You got to just all right, I really am not the shit. And I'm okay with that, because I never really thought I was the shit, to be honest. I thought I was just another squirrel trying to get a nut. But, I wasn't that guy. Man. I was like, oh, my shit doesn't stink. I'm badass, oh, no, I've never been that guy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a level of being, what's the word I'm looking for? Gracious or gratitude, everything, and just being humble, man. Be humble.
Yeah.
Without humbleness, you're done.
Just like we started off the podcast, man, it's all perspective.
It is.
It's all perspective, man. You got to humble yourself sometimes and realize that, hey, life is actually really good today, and be hopeful with the process. And, trust yourself too. Trust yourself, believe in yourself. I think that's big too, right? You gotta believe and trust in yourself. Yeah. You have to. Yeah.
Number one.
You'll start trusting yourself too when you start doing what you say you're going to do. And that's the secret to that. You can solve that just like that.
100%. There's a couple things I want to add to that. Every morning you should get the first words out of your mouth is, I believe in myself. I believe in myself.
Come on.
That should be your first words in every way. I believe in myself. Because how many times have you been told as maybe a kid that you've grown up now and you're the older version of the 7-year-old child, right? That's what we all are. We're just the older version of a 7-year-old child that's tucked away inside. Right. And all of our experiences that we lived in as a 7-year-old child is what we now are living in our 30s, 40s, and 50s. We're just emulating that product of our environment growing up as an adult. But here's the kicker. Now as an adult, we have the ability to control so much more now as an adult that we didn't as a child, as a 7-year-old.
Come on.
With experience, with life, right? With all the pains of learning through those experiences, we've learned the journey. And that's one thing that we will have over any fucking Google or Siri, by the way, that any one of these young millennials think that they can just, hey, Siri, what's the answer to life? Oh my God, this is what it is. Bullshit. That's what that does. It lacks experience, time, and journey. We have that. We have that. We've experienced it, right? So, but what I would say to that is, so one, you got to say every day, I believe in myself, number one. And number two, your wins. You got to celebrate your wins. I just realized that the other day, Ross. The other day, I got up again, and I really a good example. It was 2 days ago. I woke up. I knew I had to run my outside, and I looked outside, and again, looked like a tsunami outside. Freaking trees are blowing back and forth. The rain's going sideways.
Yeah.
And I know it's cold as balls out there. I'm like, do I really want to leave my warm bed, my warm environment, get dressed, and go run in that? No. Absolutely not. But I did, right? And I pushed myself to do it. And what's the kicker? When I came back, I didn't really even say, good job, Chris. Well done. Well done today. You went and conquered the thing you didn't want to do. Well done. You know what? That's huge. The
So
wins that
big.
you celebrate, because you got to, the wins that are celebrated are the things that we duplicate. Isn't that what Gogo said there in the meeting? Your wins that are celebrated will be duplicated. And so we wait for this big, massive win. Oh, we won the race. No, but how about, wow, I passed mile marker number 1. Good job.
That's right.
I made it past mile marker number 2. Great job. Okay.
That's right.
Those are small wins that get us to the ultimate win. So yeah, that's a huge piece I'm learning right now, brother. Like, I got to make sure I celebrate my wins and congratulate myself, because I didn't get none of that as a kid. I'll be honest, like none of that as a kid. So that's not my environment at all, ever.
You're so used to going back to the notepad. Yep, I did that. Check. All right, what else is needed for me? What else do I have to do to feel this self-love, to feel this, the celebration, all these things, right? Oh, I'm not good enough to celebrate myself until I get to here, right? Yeah.
Nope. But then we never get to there. We never get to there because we never really appreciated the small wins that got us there, right? The journey. They say life's about the journey, not the destination. That's true to its taste. We got to really appreciate the journey, the milestones, the markers that we reach, the celebrations, those wins, because that's our cheerleading. That's the cheerleaders on to the next level.
That's right.
So many of us fail that because we don't. So I would employ you to do that.
I want to add on that too. And I, just because, yesterday I called you, we had a great conversation, and, I gave an all out effort on a certain task, and it didn't come up the way that I anticipated it. But after I had that conversation with you, and I looked back at and I took an inventory, I actually celebrated myself, even though it wasn't a win. I think too, the effort, if you're giving an all out effort, right? And even maybe you don't hit that milestone, but maybe you're just in it 1,000% and you went all the way, you went all the way. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate the fact that you did something that was so hard. You didn't get the outcome you wanted, but you put in the grind, you put in the effort, and maybe you didn't get the win, right? But you still tried. That is worth celebrating, because you're going to program yourself to tell yourself, hey, listen, no matter what, no matter if I'm going to win the game or if I'm going to lose this game, I am going to go all in, and I believe in myself, and I know I'm capable, and I know I can achieve. And it's okay that I came up short on this one, or it's okay that it didn't work out, because, man, I know what's around the corner. Around the corner is that trophy that I'm trying to achieve, right? And the wins and the losses, I think, too, are something to celebrate. They just are. 100%. It's a beautiful process.
I'll just piggyback on it real quick before I finish here. And I'll say that it's all about perspective, Ross, because the truth is maybe your definition of winning is not really the win. You said you didn't win, and you said the outcome wasn't what you thought it was supposed to be, that you didn't win that, but you really did win that because you internally can create a habit, and you broke through. And you did something that was difficult that now you can face head on and do it again.
Come on.
So that's the win. The win ultimately is not always the end goal result. The win is you actually continue on this journey and keep progressively getting better every day, competing against yourself. That's a win. So yeah, dude, always love chatting with you on this. And hopefully this was valuable again, you guys. We got really deep again into the mindset. I love mindset, by the way. That is my forte. That is my kicker. Because if you can't, and that's the truth, we can sit here about all the mechanics, specifics, and technical part of being amazing and being a realtor and producing and crushing it and doing your business. But in the day, man, if you can't freaking fix what's between your 2 ears, if you can't fix that space, nothing you write down, take, duplicate, or try to even emulate will even work if you can't figure it out yourself. So that's why I'm always about mindset, right?
That's right.
It's like, true testament. Like I came back in the days when I was at Keller Williams, Gary Keller wrote an amazing book, the MREA book, the Red Book, called the Red Book, right? And actually it's an amazing book. I
feel like every realtor got that on day one in the business, right? Everyone.
How many of them are really even emulating it and following it and duplicating it? They're not. They're not. Right.
Yeah.
So it's about you just getting and because your mind was not in it. Your mind was not in it. You can have the amazing Ferrari in the garage, but you can't figure out how to turn the motherfucker on. Right? Oh, I got this badass product car in the garage, but I got too many damn buttons here. Shit, I don't know how to turn this bitch on. Right? That's the truth.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
even take it out and drive and appreciate it because I'm just not in that headspace, or I'm not in that mindset space, or I just can't figure this shit out. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You got to figure yourself out. That's why the moral of the story is. You got to figure yourself out,
Yeah.
period. If you don't figure yourself out, none of this makes sense right now, people. Figure this shit
Yeah.
out for once in your life. Figure it
Yep.
out. Don't
Yep.
become 65 years old and still trying to bang your head against the wall, figure out why this shit doesn't work for you or why it isn't
on.
consistent, right?
Come
It's
on.
not about balance. It's not about anything else. It's about fixing yourself and getting yourself right to prepare you for the journey to get you to go where you need to go.
And you're worth fighting for. Know that. I have my kids. We say affirmations every day, and my kids, the top two, which we already talked on, was they say, "I believe in myself," and then they say, "I'm worth fighting for." Meaning, hey, I'm worth putting in the effort for myself to make myself at a place that I love myself. I appreciate myself. And you have to fight for those things. No one's going to give them to you, right? You have to fight for them. You do.
Yep.
And by fight, I just mean work, right? You have
yeah.
to work for them. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. Without work, there's nothing. It's the hard
That's
work.
it.
And it's the hard work that you do in the dark, in silence, alone, when nobody's watching. That work that you put in. You know, people are celebrated for the shit they do behind closed doors. That's the truth. People are celebrated in public what they do behind closed doors. But a lot of people don't do behind the closed door shit. They want the celebration in public. So you guys do the math on that one. Awesome talk, brother. Always Ross, my co-host of this, Real Talk with Chris and Ross. Every week we bring some fire. Hopefully this was fire for you guys today too. Ross, I enjoyed every minute of this. Always, every Wednesday. This is I look forward to this because I get to unload. With you, man. I appreciate you. So hope the audience out there listening, this was valuable to you guys, and we'll be again here next week. But until then, you guys have an amazing week, and I wish you adieu.
We'll see you.
Aloha.